Back in 1991, those of you remember when Israel was under threat from Saddam Hussein, he should rest in pieces, and a young man here at Ohr Somayach, he approached me and he said to me, he wants to know, they used to sound the sirens, and then we had sealed rooms. And the defense establishment had given us all sorts of rules, taping down the windows, taping down the doors, and everything else. And this young man came over to me. He was a free-spirited Californian, looked like he stepped right off the cover of Surfers Illustrated. And he came over to me. He was in his early stages of observance. And he said he wanted to know if when the next siren goes off, if instead of going to his sealed room, if he's able to go into the Beis Medrash and stand by the Aron Kodesh. So I said to him, no, you can't. He said to me, why? So I said to him, well, for one reason, the yeshiva has to follow the directives of the defense establishment, so you're going to have to go into your sealed room. But more importantly, is that I told him that if you stand by the Aron Kodesh, and then nothing bad happens to you, you're going to be convinced that Hashem was watching over you. Your job is to go into the sealed room, and then when nothing happens to you, to realize that it's that Hashem has been watching over you. So here we are in a situation where sirens are going off and the military is fighting, and there's this unmistakable sense about everybody in Israel, when you live through it, and you just have that feeling that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching over us. That feeling is very, very appropriate and suitable for this time of year. As we go into Pesach, and Pesach we commemorate having left Egypt, Yetzias Mitzrayim, and all the miracles that took place in Egypt, and the splitting of the sea, and then in the desert they ate the manna, and everything that happened to the Jewish people was being convinced, and it was a series, it was realization that, we're under Hashem's direct supervision, what's called Hashgacha Pratis. Hashem is watching over us in very, very minute, every detail of our life, ultimately is being supervised by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And as we go to Pesach, one of the ironies of Pesach, when you look through the Pesach of Haggadah, so here it is, the retelling of the story of having left Egypt, and there's one name that's missing from that Haggadah that you will not find in the Haggadah, and that's the name of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe does not appear anywhere in the Haggadah. Isn't it interesting? The Torah, he appears in every parsha other than Parsha Tetzaveh, from the day he's born in Parsha Shmos. He appears in every parsha. Yet, when it comes to the Haggadah of Pesach, the retelling of the entire story, Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't appear. And the reason that's given is that we should make no mistake and think that all the miracles, everything that happened, which Moshe was the one performing the miracles and certainly assisting Aaron in the first three, we should make no mistake and think that our redemption and salvation was brought about because of Moshe Rabbeinu. We have to realize the Haggadah, when we're retelling the entire story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, realize that this is all under Hashem's direct supervision. Hashem and only HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Moshe is an agent of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the basic backdrop and the basic idea here. But there's a fascinating insight. The Gemara in Bracha says that it tells the story of King Saul. Now, King Saul, his father had lost some donkeys, and he sent Saul with his attendant. He sent him to go search for the donkeys. Saul went off, and he traveled for 3 days, and they didn't find the donkeys. And they found themselves very near to where the prophet Shmuel Hanavi, Shmuel the prophet, was living. And they decided to go ask the prophet. In those days you could go to the prophet. A prophet could look at you and he could tell you what your purpose in life is. A prophet could tell you what your potential is. And a prophet could tell you all sorts of interesting things. So Shaul HaMelech, Shaul, it wasn't the king yet, he and his attendant, they went to they wanted to get to Shmuel Hanavi to ask him where these donkeys are. And they didn't know how to get there. So the Nach says they saw a group of girls, and they asked these girls, where does the prophet live? Now, normally if you're asked that question, you just give kind of an address, 1791 Maple Avenue, and just give them the address. And instead of that, the girls gave them took them about 3 or 4 sentences just to tell them where Shmuel Hanavi lived. That's the story that comes out of the Nach. The Gemara asks, why did it take them so long to get to the point? Why didn't they just give an address? Why did they have to give them a whole minor speech over here? And the Gemara offers 3 reasons. Reason number 1, the Gemara says, is that women are talkative. Nashim dabrodio saying. The Gemara in Kedushin says that Hashem brought 10 parts of speech to the world. Women took 9 parts of speech and men took 1 part. The rest of the world took 1 part of speech. Women are talkers, number 1. This is a fact, and it's not a good or a bad, it's a fact that one of the reasons women have to speak is because women have to raise children in the home. And one of the things you have to do to teach children and educate them is you got to talk. Women in general talk more than men do. And if you ever want to see if a woman goes shopping with her 3-year-old toddler, so often when she comes home, there's a play-by-play recital. This is where we're putting the Cheerios on top of the refrigerator. Say, bye, Cheerios, bye, Cheerios. This is where we're putting the bananas. Say, give Mr. Banana, bye, Mr. Banana. When I can tell you on the rare occasions that I went shopping with my 3-year-old toddler, there was very little Mr. Bananas and Cheerios. They only learned 2 words, don't touch. That's all they learned from me. And the mother has to talk. It's a gift. If used properly, she could live her life encouraging people and doing chesed with her mouth and complimenting people, building people up. If a person misuses it, so that they can end up being inconsiderate, saying inappropriate things, and speaking lashon hara. So it's not a good or a bad. It depends how you use it. It's a tchuna. It's an ability that women have. The first answer the Gemara gives is the reason that they took them so long to get to the point is because women are talkers. Number 2 says because Saul was very tall and handsome. And the girls wanted to look at him a little bit longer. So it took them a little longer to get to the point so they could spend a little more time looking at Saul. And number 3, the Gemara says, is because at this point, Shmuel Hanavi was the leader of the people. And the Gemara says, Ein malchus nogas bechaverta afilu kemale nima. One sovereignty, one ruler, does not encroach on the time period of another ruler by even a hair's breadth, which meant, for example, if Shmuel was supposed to anoint Shaul at 1 o'clock, and at that moment he would be officially the king of the Jewish people, it wouldn't take place at 12:58, and it wouldn't take place at 12:59. It would take place at exactly 1 o'clock. And therefore, in order to delay Shaul reaching Shmuel, so the girls spoke a little longer, because if it would have been briefer, he would have reached earlier, and Hashem isn't going to allow that to happen. Now, what's remarkable here is that anybody who sees this Gemara, you must ask yourself, why are there 3 reasons that are given? Why isn't one reason adequate? The reason they spoke a lot is because women talk, or because Shaul was tall, or because Ein Malchus no Gaz b'chaverta. Why are 3 reasons necessary? And the answer to that is a very fascinating answer. If you stop and think about it, there are 3 types of functions that are taking place at once. Number 1, there's what we call teva, there's nature. Number 2, there's bechira, free choice. And number 3, there's what we call hashgacha, which is Hashem's supervision. Now, if we examine, you'd see very closely over here, you have number 1, teva, you have nature at work, because natural law is that women speak. Women talk more than men do. Women are talkers. So at one level, nature is at work over here. There's also free choice. Bechira, they chose to look at Shaul. They chose to speak longer so that they could have more time to look at Shaul. And number 3, there's Hashgacha. And the Hashgacha means that Hashem is running the world. And with all 3 of these are working in perfect unison, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is managing with nature and with free choice, it's still all under HaKadosh Baruch Hu's divine supervision. That it's going to happen at exactly the moment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. And so that's really the message of Pesach, is that everything that happened in Mitzrayim was a result of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's direct involvement, direct Hashgacha Pratis. That's the first idea here. Idea number two is that we have to realize that in life itself, we are all, to a certain extent, experience this. We make our efforts. And when it comes to making our efforts, we have to make the right choices, and we have to go with our natural abilities. But we also have to realize that the results are not in our hands. The result is HaKadosh Baruch Hu will decide. A classic example is a person has to make the right choices. Imagine there's a guy standing by a 12-lane highway, and he very recklessly closes his eyes and runs across the street. And as he gets to the other side of the street, he manages, cars are slamming on their brakes, skidding all over the place, but he manages to get all the way across. And on the other side of the street, he finds a wallet with $40,000 in it. The second guy waits for all the traffic to clear. He looks both ways very carefully, makes his way across the highway, and right in the middle of the highway, a light aircraft crashes into him and kills him. Now, who made the right choice? The first guy or the second guy? And the test is going to be, if you're the third guy, what are you going to do? Well, let's read the data. The first guy closed his eyes, ran across the street, and found a wallet. The second guy was very careful, and he ended up getting killed. So what are you, the third guy, going to do? You can close your eyes and run across the street? No, you're not. You're going to look carefully both ways. You may also look up, because avoid aircraft. But you understand, he did the right thing. But just because he did the right thing, the results are still in the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Gemara says that Shlomo HaMelech once met the angel of death, the Malach HaMaves. And the angel of death looked depressed. Someone else said, what's the problem? He said, there are two men, two of your servants, beloved servants of Shlomo HaMelech, who I've been sent down to terminate their life, and I have not been successful. So I'm looking depressed. So Shlomo said to him, well, Hatzlacha. And he left. Shlomo HaMelech summoned these two men, and he called in the head of the Shadim, the demons. Shlomo HaMelech had communication with them. And he said, I want you to take these two men, I want you to transport them to the city of Luz. The city of Luz was an ancient city where no one died inside the walls of the city of Luz. And Shlomo HaMelech said to these men, to the Shadim, I want you to take these men to the city of Luz, so they'll be protected from the angel of death. They were transported, and just as they got to the gates of the city of Luz, the angel of death was able to get them and terminate their life. The next day, Shlomo HaMelech said, I saw the angel of death, and he was all smiles. I said, what are you smiling about? He said, because exactly where I needed them, you sent them, because that's where the place where they were preordained to die. Now, if you ask, did Shlomo HaMelech do the right thing? If any of us were in Shlomo HaMelech's place, we would have done exactly the same thing. And the lesson of the Gemara is that on the one hand, we have to make the correct choices. On the other hand, we have to realize that at the end of the day, it's all under HaKadosh Baruch Hu's supervision. Pesach is here. We make the correct choices. We live as Torah Jews. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us a list of rules, how to live our life, a Torah, halacha, what we have to do. We have to make the correct choices. But we also have to realize, and that's the lesson of Pesach, that at the end of the day, the results are not in our hands. We have to make the best effort. The results are in the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It was his Hashgacha in Mitzrayim. It's his Hashgacha in Eretz Yisrael today with missiles flying. And it's his Hashgacha in every one of our lives. And we all daven and we hope that we should see Yeshua's for Klal Yisrael, salvation for Klal Yisrael. Everybody should stay safe. Everybody should stay healthy. And that we should ultimately see under HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Hashgacha the ultimate redemption in the future very quickly. And everybody should have a Chag Kosher v'Sameach.
Hi, this is Peretz Baruch Eichler, a proud alumnus of Ohr Somayach. Now what you just watched is one of the many programs that Ohr Somayach provides, leaving its impact on hundreds of thousands with so many more waiting to be reached. Ohr Somayach's central campus in Jerusalem has over 300 students presently learning there. And now you can be a vital part of spreading that bounty of knowledge worldwide by logging on to donate.ohr.edu. We can step up to the plate at this pivotal moment of Ohr Somayach's growth and bring the next generation of Jews home.